Threading and winding the bobbin on any sewing machine must be done correctly or else the machine is not going to work. So this is kind of on you, and I'm going to show you the tricks that we see and hear all the time where people go wrong. So I want you to do this the right way, and I guarantee you're going to enjoy sewing with this machine so much more. So first off, quality thread makes a difference. When you open up the thread and you look at it, you want to see a nice smooth spool thread without lots of lint or inconsistencies. So if you can take your hand and just smoothly run it over that thread and not feel bumps, you have probably a better quality thread. And that makes a difference. The machine needs smoothness as it goes down through the tension area. Taking a spool like this, if it's cross-wound, we are going to lay it on the horizontal spool pin. That means you see little X's on it. If you have a spool that has no X's and the threads laying next to each other, that's where we're going to use the vertical spool pin. And you're going to put it up on the back part here, and you'll let the spool spin off of it there. So for this one, I am going to lay it down. It comes off best off the end of the spool. So I will need to actually also put a spool cap on it. So find a spool cap that matches your shape of thread and slide it on. Make sure there's not a little gap in between the spool cap and the spool. Otherwise, thread will get caught in there, and then that breaks the needle. Things aren't happy at all. So to wind a bobbin, you are going to follow, there's a little guide right here at the top to which guide to follow when you are winding a bobbin. So we're going to come underneath the back part, and this is a pre-tensioner. I can kind of put my fingers in here, and it kind of wants to snap. If the picture shows you, you do need to crisscross around it. So that means coming in between there, giving it a little pull so it slips in between that little button part and crosses clockwise all the way around and crosses over itself. Now to put this in the bobbin, take your thread and put it through the hole from the inside out. So when you do that, you'll have a little tail that you can hold onto when you place the bobbin on the bobbin winder. Little picture here is the arrow. Push that towards the bobbin stopper, and then hold your hand straight up and step on your foot control. I'm going to hold on nice and tight until it can break off. Sometimes what I'll do is, so I don't end up with a little tail sticking out from the top of the bobbin, is to go ahead and take my scissors and snip it. And then that way, no worries, it's going to be perfect for when we go to use it and put it into our bobbin case. When you go ahead and wind this up, you do find that it'll eventually stop spinning, and then we have a fairly full bobbin. Speaking of bobbins, you do want to use the exact size bobbin that is right for this machine. These are a very standard size called Class 15 plastic or clear bobbins. So just don't use the metal ones because they're heavier, and your machine isn't weighted for heavy bobbins. They're weighted for the lighter weight ones. So when you take this out, a little trick, when you lift this up, if you're holding on to it, you will just bring it straight down and drop it into the bobbin area. You will notice that there's a little picture right here that guides you. It reminds you which way the thread needs to come off the bobbin when it's placed into the bobbin case. So there was one bobbin that came with the machine, so I just took it out. This thread is going to go down, and then you're going to bring it down about 6 o'clock, and we'll do a close-up video on how to put the bobbin in specifically. But you'll notice I'm going to hold my finger on this bobbin, click it in, and then follow the little cutter, the little groove all the way to the back. And then if I lift it around the back corner here and pull, it cuts it. So it's the perfect length for when we start to sew. So at this point, we are done with our bobbin. Just go ahead and put that bobbin case cover back and cover that up. Good. And now we're ready to do the threading for the top. First things first, make sure your presser foot is in the up position. That makes the tension discs open when you start to stitch. And then also that little button we went around for the bobbin winder, that is only used for winding bobbins. So come out of that next. Go ahead and place the thread behind the first guide. And now they're numbered. Go down number 2. And then up at number 3. And here's what I want you to do. If you want to guarantee this always works, take your thread and your thread at the top and go back and forth. Floss that in. What it does is make sure your thread goes all the way deep enough into this first groove. That's where those tension discs are. For the take-up lever, we're going in on the right, all the way back and down on the left, and that will hook it into this top part here. And then there is one guide at the top of the needle. You'll hook it around the right side, and then the needle threader is awesome. It will allow you to not have to realize how small that needle eye has gotten, and it will pull it right through. There's a little groove on the side of the foot, so I just slip the thread through that groove so it's underneath and to the back. And when we go to sew, it's really a good idea to take 2 pieces of fabric or take 1 piece and fold it in half when we start to stitch. Lower the presser foot down. The little lifter is kind of right on the inside of the machine, so easy to actually get to. You don't have to reach all the way to the back. And let's go ahead and see if we have nice, even stitching. So did you notice we didn't have to bring the bobbin thread up? That is the beauty of this machine. And also when I stop sewing, the needle stops in the up position. This is also going to eliminate a ton of things people have that go wrong with their machine. When the needle stops in the up position, you don't have to turn this hand wheel and change that location. You can just go ahead, lift up the presser foot, and there's a little cutter on the side of the machine. You'll have to find it and just, I usually go from back towards me, and it cuts the thread perfectly. So we want to see nice, even stitches on the front and on the back. Usually just leave your tension at auto when you have both the same weight of thread in your needle as you do in the bobbin. So that means they're very balanced. So let's get into how you pick all these stitches, what are these little levers, and how to use the machine to its fullest.